It's not just you. No one can afford kids anymore. This has been on my mind since I listened to this week's Daily podcast, which discussed the childcare problem and the Democratic infrastructure bill, which would pay childcare providers a livable wage and offer subsidies. Despite the excellent content, the interview felt akin to two men exclaiming, "Wow, did you know that childcare is really expensive?" Furthermore, did you know that women who work in childcare receive low wages and do it only out of a love for raising children? The host briefly shares his aha moment regarding the awful circumstances facing American parents. A family that the Times reporter encountered in Greensboro, North Carolina, spends $24,000 of their $75,000 annual income, or one-third of it, on childcare. He claims that as a result, they have made the decision to stop having children. Remember to like and give us a thumbs up so we can continue regularly uploading videos. The host interrupts, "Wait, they don't have as many children as they want because of the cost of providing childcare for the kids they have." He sounds like a real thunderclap. At this moment, I had to press stop and shout, "Ah!" at my kitchen ceiling. Although the Times coverage is commendable, I don't sense the impact of the message. Is the news still shocking? Women have been screaming from the rooftops for the past 1.5 years about how America is failing them and how they need more help. But their pleas are consistently treated with shock and incredulity. Since I tried to tell this story for years, I probably took its failure a little personally. However, it appears that the narrative of American families' growing incapacity to provide for their children is one that our nation just refuses to acknowledge. Ironically, I discovered the desperation of American families even before I became a mother, and I was shocked by the burden of a weekly childcare bill, or as one of my dad friends puts it, one car payment every week. Despite my initial naivety, I found myself working full-time as a reporter on poverty-related issues 6 years before I became a mother. I was producing 3 to 5 pieces every week, concurrently receiving a comprehensive education in economics and social issues. At the time, there were a few significant articles, and eventually I began to notice trends and make connections. The first major topic to dominate the headlines was the fact that despite the financial market's recovery, Americans had not recovered nearly 10 years after the Great Recession. Following the recession, earnings were lower, stagnant, and did not increase at the rate of living. By 2017, the median household's net worth had plunged by 40%, wiping out savings, and had hardly recovered, according to the Fed. The majority of Americans just have enough money in savings accounts to last them a few months. To put it succinctly, Americans were falling behind. Meanwhile, the cost of healthcare and student loan debt had skyrocketed. At the time, there was also another intriguing headline stating that, oddly, fertility rates were down. A baby boom usually comes after a recession. However, 10 years after birth rates had reached an all-time low due to the recession, the opposite was taking place. I said to myself, it seems like people can't afford to have kids. I looked into this. Sociologists have been keenly interested in examining the declining fertility rate. According to the research, women were delaying having children in order to pursue higher education or enter the workforce. Could it be that more women are entering the workforce and finishing their education in order to partially increase their income so they can afford to start families and earn more money as a result? I pondered. But in the news, there appeared to be 100 different theories for the decline in fertility. Several well-known male columnists revived the tired trope that women are too focused on their careers and have too many options these days. Many male sociologists believe it had to do with postponing marriage, whereas some non-male sociologists said the drop symbolically represented women's empowerment. The culture of hooking up also played a significant role, or perhaps STDs. My editor rejected several of the pieces I submitted to him on the theme of people can't afford to have kids, complaining that families are struggling financially because people go out to eat too much these days. However, he did allow some of the stories. I eventually came across this. After analyzing data from thousands of bankruptcy records and interviewing hundreds of filers, a Harvard law professor and her research team published their findings in the early 2000s, revealing that having a child is now the single best indicator that a woman will face financial ruin. Additionally, they discovered that middle-class families with 2 earners had the highest bankruptcy rate. This was not due to their extravagant travels, but rather to the high cost of expensive college tuition, rising daycare expenses, and properties in coveted school districts. They discovered that while 2-income families made 75% more money than single-income families did a generation earlier, they had 25% less money available for living expenses. Even though they were working harder and earning more money than their parents, they were still unable to pay for necessities. Middle-class parents were so close to financial collapse from one automobile accident or medical expense, as they struggled to provide for their children. Peer-reviewed and available in black and white since 2003, here it was. Nobody can afford to start a family. In other words, they are losing a lot of money trying to do things the American way. Why wasn't this story receiving greater media coverage? I question why we didn't hear about it as much as the declining fertility rate. A little while later, this story gained some attention because Elizabeth Warren, one of its writers, ran for senator and shared her research findings in a book she co-wrote with her daughter. It's ironic that despite the release of a book by a well-known politician and former presidential candidate detailing Americans' obsession with child-rearing, the topic remains taboo and American pundits remain shocked by the facts. We Americans find it difficult, for whatever reason, to acknowledge that we cannot afford to raise a family. This is not a story we like. This is a narrative we want to bury, twist, question, and tell from a different angle. Women have been vocally protesting for the past year and a half, saying that America is failing them and that they need more assistance, instead of emphasizing the fact that the Build Back Better Act, which is now in Congress, would cap child care expenditures at 7% of middle-class families' income and save the average family $14,800 annually. As stated on the White House website, the media is focusing mostly on the bill's high cost. Provide a livable wage to those who work in child care and elder care, as this industry supports 1.1 million jobs annually. Give low-income families free community college tuition for 2 years and subsidize their tuition. Invest in innovative solutions to support the 763,000 jobs in the climate change industry. I appreciate you looking. Remember to subscribe and like our YouTube channel.